The piercing wail of police sirens would eventually shatter the carefully constructed silence surrounding the Al-Zaidi family, but on that cool March evening in 2018, Sheikh Harib Al-Zaidi sat in the Blend Cafe in Dubai Marina, completely unaware that his life was about to be systematically dismantled by a woman whose smile concealed years of practiced deception. At 38, Harib cut an impressive figure even in civilian clothes, designer jeans and a pressed white shirt replacing his usual traditional kandura on this rare day off from military consultations. His athletic build, maintained through years of Sandhurst training and UAE Armed Forces discipline, drew admiring glances from other cafe patrons. But it was his eyes, dark, intelligent, carrying the weight of family expectations, that revealed the complex man beneath the polished exterior. Third son of the prestigious Al-Zaidi family, Harib had spent his entire life navigating the treacherous waters between personal desire and dynastic obligation. His father, Sheikh Khalil Al-Zaidi, ruled their household with the same iron authority he'd once wielded as a government minister. His mother, Sheikha Latifa, obsessed over family reputation with an intensity that had already driven one cousin into permanent exile for the crime of marrying a Lebanese woman. That scandal, 10 years old, still poisoned family gatherings with whispered warnings about the dangers of foreign wives. Harib had dutifully attended every arranged meeting with suitable Emirati women from approved families. Each encounter felt like a business negotiation, dowries discussed, family connections evaluated, compatibility measured in terms of social standing rather than genuine connection. By his mid-30s, the pressure had become suffocating. His eldest brother, Sheikh Faisal, had produced 4 children and secured his position as heir. His second brother, Mansour, played the role of playboy prince while managing the family's real estate empire with surprising competence. Even his younger sister, Sheikha Amira, had married into another prominent royal family. Only Harib remained unmarried, his romantic idealism warring constantly with cultural pragmatism. "Excuse me, is this seat taken?" The voice pulled him from his brooding thoughts. She stood beside his corner table, MacBook tucked under one arm, designer handbag hanging from her shoulder with deliberate understatement. Her beauty was undeniable but not ostentatious. Mestiza features suggesting Spanish-Filipino heritage, minimal makeup emphasizing natural elegance rather than concealing it, professional attire that spoke of ambition without desperation. "Please," Harib gestured to the empty chair, noting the cafe's unusual crowdedness for a Tuesday afternoon. "Thank you so much. Everywhere else is packed." Her English carried a slight accent, musical and warm. "I'm Carla, by the way. I hate sitting with strangers without at least introducing myself." Harib. He kept his family name to himself, a habit born from too many interactions where his surname changed people's behavior instantly. She settled in with practiced ease, opening her laptop but not immediately burying herself in work. "You look like you're escaping from something. Bad day?" He found himself smiling genuinely for the first time in weeks. "Just heavy thoughts, family obligations, the usual. I understand completely." She laughed, light and self-deprecating. "I left the Philippines partly to escape my family's expectations. They wanted me to marry my ex-boyfriend from university. Nice guy, but completely wrong for me. Sometimes you have to disappoint people to save yourself. You know?" The conversation that followed felt effortless, dangerously so. Carla spoke of her work in hospitality management, carefully vague about details that Harib would only later realize were deliberate omissions. She mentioned missing home, supporting younger siblings through university, dreams of eventually opening her own consulting business. Every detail painted the picture of a woman who was ambitious but grounded, vulnerable but strong, foreign but respectful of local culture. When she accidentally knocked over her coffee 20 minutes into their conversation, the liquid splashing across her laptop's keyboard, Harib's protective instincts kicked in immediately. "I'm so clumsy." She grabbed napkins frantically, genuine distress crossing her features. "This laptop has all my work files, client presentations. Let me pay for the repairs," Harib offered immediately. "Or a replacement if it's damaged." "It was an accident, these things happen." "No, absolutely not." She smiled through her obvious worry. and he noticed how her refusal seemed genuinely principled rather than calculated. "I'm responsible for my own mistakes. But thank you. That's really kind of you." Most women in his circles would have accepted immediately, already mentally calculating how much they could extract from a wealthy man's guilt. Her refusal intrigued him more than acceptance ever could. They exchanged phone numbers before parting. "Just in case the laptop needs professional data recovery," she'd said with a self-deprecating laugh. "You seem like someone who knows people who know people." Walking back to his car, Harib felt something he hadn't experienced in years. Genuine curiosity about another person. Not about their family connections or their dowry potential, but about who they actually were beneath the surface. He had no way of knowing that every word she'd spoken was part of a script refined over years of practice. That the accidental coffee spill was a technique designed to create memorable bonding moments. That her laptop contained nothing but carefully constructed props for whatever persona she needed to project. That Carla Marquez Ramos was 32, not 29. That her work in hospitality management was actually high-end escort services targeting ultra-wealthy Gulf men. That she'd already identified him during 3 previous coincidental sightings, researching his patterns, his vulnerabilities, his family dynamics with forensic precision. Her syndicate specialized in long-game operations, 18 months average from first contact to maximum extraction. They'd successfully manipulated Saudi businessmen out of millions, Kuwaiti royals out of properties, 3 other UAE nationals out of substantial settlements. Carla was their star operator, combining stunning looks with psychological sophistication that made marks feel like they were the ones pursuing her. In her private notes that night, she would write, "Target Alpha, Sheikh Harib Al-Zaidi, 38, third son of prominent family. Net worth minimum AD 40M, likely higher with family connections. Vulnerabilities identified, romantic idealism, family pressure regarding marriage, desire for authentic connection outside royal circles. Exploitation strategy, present as modest, struggling, principled. Appeal to protector instinct, avoid appearing interested in wealth. Timeline, 18 months optimal before family pressure forces revelation. Risk assessment, low. Traditional values mean he'll prioritize relationship protection over investigation. Initial contact, successful. But Harib knew none of this as he drove through Dubai's glittering evening traffic, already composing a text message to check on her laptop repair status. He was simply a man who'd met an intriguing woman, feeling the first flutter of possibility after years of dutiful disappointment. Their second, coincidental meeting 3 days later at the same cafe felt like fate rather than strategy. By the 3rd week, they were sharing meals at carefully selected mid-tier restaurants where Harib could relax without constantly being recognized. Carla demonstrated perfect calibration, grateful for his attention but never grasping, interested in his stories but never prying into family details, comfortable with modest outings but never hinting at expectations for luxury. She learned basic Arabic phrases, mispronouncing them adorably and asking for his patient correction. She expressed genuine curiosity about Emirati culture, Islamic traditions, the history that made Dubai transform from fishing village to global metropolis in 2 generations. She shared vulnerable stories about her father's death when she was young, the responsibility of helping support siblings, the loneliness of being far from home in a city that could feel cold despite its heat. Every detail was calculated. Every vulnerability was weaponized. Every moment of connection was theater. But Harib experienced it as revelation, the discovery of a woman who saw him as a person rather than a title, who laughed at his jokes rather than his bank account, who seemed content with his company rather than his connections. By month 4, when he kissed her for the first time on a quiet beach during sunset, he was already in love with a ghost. By month 6, when she tearfully confessed her deepening feelings despite knowing his family would never approve, he was planning how to marry her in secret. By month 9, when he presented her with a traditional engagement ring during a private yacht dinner, he had convinced himself that love was worth the risk of family rejection. The Islamic marriage contract was signed at a private office with minimal ceremony, Harib's childhood friend Jasm serving as witness alongside Carla's cousin, actually her syndicate partner, an expert in forging documentation. The marriage was legal but secret, a bomb waiting to detonate within the Al-Zaidi family structure whenever discovery became inevitable. Harib purchased a penthouse in the exclusive Al-Zamala Tower for 18 million dirhams, creating their hidden sanctuary away from family estates and prying eyes. He split his time between work obligations and secret domestic bliss, telling himself the deception was temporary, just until the right moment arrived to reveal his choice to his family. In that penthouse, Carla performed the role of perfect wife with Oscar-worthy commitment. She learned to cook Emirati dishes from YouTube tutorials, wore modest clothing at home, discussed converting to Islam with convincing earnestness, supported his work stress with patient understanding, and calibrated their intimate life with professional precision. Passionate enough to feel genuine, but not so experienced as to raise questions about her past. What Harib didn't see was her separate apartment in Marina Heights, maintained under a different name, the continued escort appointments with select high-value clients, the systematic photographing of his belongings, documents, passwords, the copied files from his home office, the building dossier containing every vulnerability, every asset, every potential leverage point. And he certainly didn't see the 3 other operations running parallel to his own romance. His brother Mansour, frequenting the same ultra-VIP nightclub where Carla accidentally caught his attention during month 3 of her relationship with Harib. The Playboy prince never suspected the beautiful Filipina he was bedding in luxury hotel suites was his brother's secret wife. Different styling, different name, different persona entirely. His best friend Jasm confided in about the secret marriage, who Carla seduced during month 10 with tearful stories of feeling trapped and misunderstood by a husband who'd grown cold and controlling. The friend who rationalized his betrayal as rescue rather than treachery. And most devastating of all, his father, Sheikh Khalil Al-Zaidi, who maintained a private apartment for discreet affairs, who encountered a modest, respectful young woman at an adjacent luxury spa during month 16. A woman who spoke formal Arabic beautifully, who discussed traditional values with apparent reverence, who seemed trapped in an unhappy marriage to someone unworthy. The patriarch never recognized her as his son's wife. She'd researched his preferences, styled herself completely differently, used an alternate identity. In her master planning document, hidden in encrypted laptop folders, Carla had written, "Multi-target exploitation maximizes extraction while creating insurance. If our discovers affair with M or K, evidence of others provides leverage. If family discovers marriage, evidence of father's affair provides nuclear-level blackmail. Timeline holding steady. Extraction phase begins month 18. Target amount, AED 50 million collectively or media sale of evidence. Win condition, complete financial extraction with 0 legal consequences. They'll pay to protect honor. Arab shame culture guarantees it. But for now, in October 2019, Harib lived in blissful ignorance. He'd extracted AED 3.2 million from him through carefully staged emergencies. Sick mother, business opportunities, family obligations. Mansour had provided another AED 1.5 million in gifts and transfers. Jasm had contributed AED 800,000 plus property documents. Sheikh Khalil had invested 82 million in her business venture. Total secured AED 7.5 million with the endgame approaching. On October 21, 2019, Harib returned early from a military consultation in Abu Dhabi, planning to surprise his wife with a spontaneous weekend getaway. He found the penthouse empty and her laptop left open on the kitchen counter, an unprecedented lapse in her otherwise meticulous operational security. He approached it innocently, intending only to book flight tickets using her travel rewards program. One folder led to another. One photo revealed a cascade. One truth shattered everything. And Sheikh Harib Al-Zaidi's perfect world began its brutal, systematic collapse. The laptop screen glowed in the darkened penthouse like an accusation, casting blue light across Harib's face as his hand trembled over the trackpad. 11:47 p.m. The timestamp would be burned into his memory forever, the precise moment his life divided into before and after. He'd been clicking through what appeared to be legitimate hospitality management files, looking for her travel booking folder, when he'd noticed something unusual. A folder icon partially hidden beneath others, labeled with a single character, a Chinese character meaning private. Carla didn't speak Chinese. The anomaly made him pause. A keyboard combination he'd learned during military intelligence training revealed the hidden directory structure. What appeared as one folder was actually a gateway to dozens. The first folder he opened was labeled unreveled memory. His own face stared back from dozens of photographs. Candid shots he'd never known were being taken. Him sleeping, him working, him laughing at a joke she'd told. But these weren't sentimental keepsakes. Each photo was annotated with clinical precision. Subject exhibits strong protective response to perceived vulnerability, exploit through damsel scenarios. Demonstrates guilt when unable to solve problems. Financial requests should frame as opportunities to help. Religious/cultural guilt regarding premarital relationship. Marriage proposal timeline. Month 8 to 9 optimal. Harab's breathing became shallow as he scrolled deeper. Financial spreadsheets tracked every dirham he'd given her with categorization that made his stomach turn. Emotional manipulation. AD 200K. Guilt extraction. AD 500K. Trust-building investment. AD 180K. A video file caught his attention. He clicked, and Carla's face filled the screen. But this wasn't his wife. The accent was different, harder. The expression was calculating rather than warm. She was speaking to someone off-camera in Tagalog, laughing. The subtitle file translated automatically. He's so easy. The cultural guilt works perfectly. These religious types always think they're saving you from something. He proposed exactly on schedule. The family complication is actually perfect. Keeps everything secret. Gives me operating room for the others. Others. Harab whispered to the empty room. He found the answer in the next folder. M_secondary. The first image stopped his heart. His brother Mansour, unmistakable despite the dim lighting, locked in an intimate embrace with Carla. The timestamp showed it was taken 3 months into Harab's relationship with her. The location tag indicated the Royal Palace Hotel, a property Mansour frequented. Harab's military training kicked in, suppressing the emotional response, forcing analytical distance. He needed to see everything before reacting. Compartmentalize, assess, then respond. More photos followed. Dozens of them. Hotel rooms, yachts, Mansour's private villa. Text message screenshots showed his brother's arrogant confidence. Best conquest this year. Worth every dirham. Bank transfer records. AED 500,000 labeled. For your business. Habibti. Carla's notes beneath. M is textbook narcissist. Ego-driven. Seduction required minimal effort. Attractive woman shows interest. He assumes divine right to possess. Risk assessment 0. He's too arrogant to imagine being manipulated. Extraction steady. Side benefit. If her discovers, M's betrayal will destroy their brotherhood. Removing potential ally for or during endgame. Harab stood abruptly, walked to the bathroom, vomited into the toilet. His hands gripped the marble counter as he stared at his reflection, the face of a fool. He'd trusted her, loved her, risked everything for her. And his own brother. He returned to the laptop. If there was more, he needed to know. No more surprises. Complete intelligence before operational planning. The folder labeled K_vulnerability waited like a loaded weapon. Jasm, his best friend since university. The man who'd stood as witness at his secret wedding. The one person outside family he'd trusted with the truth. The photos here were different. More intimate, less transactional. Genuine smiles. Romantic dinners at Jasm's villa. A photograph of them holding hands, watching sunset. For a moment, Harab felt a strange twist of jealousy before rage consumed it. Audio files revealed the depth of betrayal. Jasm's voice, thick with emotion. I've loved you since Harab first introduced us. I thought I could suppress it, be happy for him. But seeing you trapped in that marriage, seeing how he controls you. He doesn't control me. Carla's voice interjected, perfectly modulated distress. He's just different than I expected. Cold, distant. I feel so alone, Jasm. You're the only one who understands. Leave him, please. I'll take care of everything. The family will understand eventually. He doesn't deserve you. Harab's hand clenched into a fist. The date stamp, 2 months ago. While he'd been planning their first anniversary celebration, his wife was convincing his best friend that she needed rescue from their marriage. Carla's analysis notes, K is the emotional exploitation target. His guilt about betraying her makes him more generous. Psychological compensation. Currently invested, AD 800K plus property deed additions. Potential extraction, AED 2M plus if properly leveraged. Backup plan. If her discovers affairs, K's genuine emotional attachment makes him useful idiot. He'll defend me, creating conflict between them. Divide and conquer. 3 folders down. 1 remained. The file name made no sense initially. Patriarch. Harab opened it. The first image was surveillance style, his father, Sheikh Khalil, entering a luxury apartment building in the business district. Harab knew this building. He'd never questioned why his father occasionally had meetings there. More photos followed a timeline. Carla. Styled completely differently, hair darker, clothing more conservative, makeup aged her subtly. At a luxury spa adjacent to the building. A chance encounter with his father in the elevator. Coffee in the building's private lounge. Then images that made Harab's vision narrow to a tunnel, the edges darkening like he might pass out. His father, his wife, in the apartment, multiple meetings. The final photographs left nothing to imagination or doubt. Audio files with his father's voice, unmistakable. You remind me of the values we're losing. Young people today have no respect for tradition. My own son married in secret to a foreigner. Disgraced our family name. That's terrible, Carla's voice responded, careful and sympathetic. A man like you, who built so much, deserves better from his children. You understand. That's rare these days. Your husband. This man you mentioned who doesn't appreciate you. He's a fool. The timeline showed this had been happening for 3 weeks. For meetings total. The most recent was 6 days ago. Carla's notes. S presented unique challenge. Patriarch is R's father. Discovered during financial investigation into family structure. Initially considered abort, but syndicate leadership approved escalation. Reasoning. Triple leverage. 1. Affair with son's wife. 2. Hypocrisy given his traditional values stance. 3. Nuclear-level blackmail potential. S has most to lose: government position, family reputation, religious standing. Extraction potential. Maximum. If endgame requires exposure threat, S's involvement guarantees payment. Estimated AD 20M from S alone to prevent exposure. Already invested AD 2M business investment. He has no idea the woman he's sleeping with is his son's wife. Different name, different styling, different persona. Risk. Calculated and acceptable. Harab sat motionless as dawn light began creeping through the floor-to-ceiling windows. He'd spent 7 hours reviewing everything. Every photo, every video, every message, every transaction, every clinical notation describing how she'd systematically exploited him, his brother, his best friend, and his father. The final folder he found was labeled Master_Plan. It was a comprehensive operational document. Target families. Timeline projections, extraction strategies. His family was listed as Priority Alpha. Royal connections provide multi-generational exploitation potential. The exit strategy was detailed meticulously. Month 18. Present evidence to all targets simultaneously if possible, separately if necessary. Demand collective payment. AED 50M or media exposure of all affairs, financial fraud, family hypocrisy. Backup. If payment refused, sell evidence to international media. Estimated value. AED 2M minimum. Win condition. Maximum extraction. 0 legal consequences. Arab shame culture guarantees payment to avoid public humiliation. A notation at the bottom, dated 3 days ago. Timeline acceleration recommended. are showing signs of wanting to reveal marriage to family. Window closing. Prepare for extraction phase. All evidence secured. Cloud backup confirmed. Physical backup in safety deposit box. Bank of Singapore. Legal position. Untouchable. They have everything to lose. I have nothing to lose and everything to gain. Harab closed the laptop with hands that had stopped trembling. The shaking had been replaced by something else entirely. A cold, crystalline clarity he recognized from combat situations. The emotional reaction was suppressed beneath operational thinking. His phone showed 37 missed calls from Carla. A voicemail. Habibti, where are you? I'm worried. I came home and you're not here. Please call me back. I love you. Her voice. The same voice that had whispered love, that had cried during their wedding ceremony, that had promised forever, now sounded like fingernails on glass. He picked up his phone and made 4 calls. First, a private investigator who'd worked with military intelligence. I need complete surveillance on 4 people. I need their locations, communications, patterns. I need it within 48 hours. Cost is irrelevant. Second, a digital forensics expert. I need evidence copied with forensic integrity. Chain of custody documentation. Admissible in any court if needed. Can you be here in 1 hour? Third, an attorney who specialized in offshore legal structures. I need advice on handling sensitive family matter with international implications. Discretion is mandatory. I'll pay triple your rate. Fourth, he stared at the contact for his mother for a full minute before putting the phone down without calling. Not yet. Not until he had complete operational control. At 6 a.m., Carla's key turned in the lock. She'd been at Mansour's yacht. GPS data from another folder confirmed it. But she was coming home now, preparing to play the worried wife. Harab stood in the bedroom doorway, freshly showered, dressed in business attire, expression carefully neutral. Harab! Oh, thank God! She rushed to embrace him. He allowed it, noting clinically how perfectly she performed concern. I was so worried. Where were you? Why didn't you answer? I thought something happened. Emergency meeting, he said, voice even. Military consultation. Phone died. I'm sorry for worrying you. She searched his face, and he knew she was looking for signs of suspicion. He gave her nothing. Years of military training, years of negotiating with hostile parties, years of maintaining composure under pressure, all of it deployed now. You look exhausted, she said softly, reaching up to touch his face. Come back to bed. You need rest. I need to go to the office. He stepped back from her touch. But tonight, let's have dinner. Here, just us. I want to talk about our future. Of course, Habibti. She smiled, and he saw what he'd never seen before, the calculation behind the warmth. I love you. I know exactly what you love, he replied, the double meaning invisible to her. See you tonight. He left her standing in their bedroom, already planning the confrontation to come. But first, he needed his pieces in position. The forensic expert was already on his way. The investigator would deliver current locations and patterns. The lawyer would provide the legal framework. In 72 hours, he would gather them all, Carla, Mansour, Jasm, even his father, at the Al Sara Desert Estate under separate pretenses. Each would arrive thinking they were attending different events. Each would learn the truth in carefully orchestrated sequence. But as Harab drove through morning traffic toward his office, he felt something shift inside him. The man who'd married for love was dead. In his place was something harder, colder, more dangerous. They'd all underestimated him, seen his honor as weakness, his love as vulnerability, his restraint as inability. They were about to learn the difference between a man bound by honor and a man freed from its constraints. And that lesson would be brutal. The Al Sara Desert Estate sat 50 kilometers outside Dubai's glittering chaos, a fortress of traditional Bedouin architecture merged with modern security systems that could rival military installations. On October 27, 2019, as the sun descended toward distant dunes painting the sky in violent oranges and reds, for luxury vehicles approached the compound from different directions, each carrying a passenger who believed they alone understood the purpose of this evening's gathering. Harab stood in the main majlis, watching security monitors display their arrivals with the detached precision of a general observing enemy troop movements. The room around him breathed old wealth, hand-woven Arabian carpets worth more than most people's homes, cushioned seating arranged in traditional conversation circles, floor-to-ceiling windows framing the endless desert. But tonight, this space would become an arena. 6 ex-military security personnel positioned themselves at strategic points throughout the compound, each carrying concealed recording equipment and legal witness documentation. 3 lawyers occupied an adjacent building with live video feeds, preparing to certify whatever unfolded. Cell phone jammers hummed quietly in corners, ensuring no outside communication. The single-access road had a manned checkpoint. No one would leave until Harab permitted it. He dressed in a perfectly pressed white kandura, traditional and formal, the clothing of a man conducting serious family business. Oud cologne marked him with ceremonial significance. In his jacket pocket rested a USB drive containing copies of every piece of evidence: his insurance policy, his weapon, his shield. Sheikh Khalil arrived first at 6:30 p.m., his armored Mercedes navigating the checkpoint with the ease of someone accustomed to VIP treatment. The patriarch emerged in traditional formal attire, his weathered face carrying the authority of 7 decades spent building empires and destroying obstacles. Harab greeted him with proper respect. Forehead kiss, hand over heart, the gestures so ingrained they felt automatic despite the rage coiling beneath his ribs. "Thank you for coming, father. This matter requires your wisdom. You sounded urgent on the phone." Khalil accepted Arabic coffee and dates in the private study, settling into leather chairs that had hosted 3 generations of family decisions. "This government contract you mentioned. We'll discuss it shortly. Please, rest. The others will arrive soon." Khalil's eyebrows rose slightly. "Others? Harab, you said this was private consultation." "It is. Very private. You'll understand soon." 15 minutes later, Mansour's Lamborghini announced his arrival with an aggressive engine roar that seemed to offend the desert silence. He burst into the compound radiating impatience, designer casual wear and cologne that cost more than monthly salaries. "Brother, what's this emergency about mother?" Mansour demanded immediately. "I canceled important plans." "Mother is fine," Harab replied, voice neutral. "That was necessary to ensure your attendance. We need to discuss something else." "You lied to get me here?" Mansour's face flushed with anger. "I don't have time for games." "I have. A date with someone?" Harab's tone remained even, but something in his eyes made Mansour hesitate. "Cancel it. You're staying. Security has instructions not to let anyone leave until we're finished." "You can't be serious." "Extremely serious. Sit. Drink. Wait." Harab guided his brother to a separate sitting room, leaving him with expensive whiskey and growing unease. Mansour tried his phone, found no signal, and began pacing like a caged animal sensing danger but unable to identify its source. At 7 p.m., Jasm arrived in his Porsche, excited about the investment opportunity Harab had mentioned. His embrace was warm, genuine, the affection of 30 years of brotherhood radiating from every gesture. Harab returned it mechanically, remembering audio files of this same man planning to steal his wife. "You sounded mysterious on the phone," Jasm smiled, accepting mint tea. "High-value investment requiring immediate decision?" "I'm intrigued." "The investment already happened," Harab replied. "Now we're calculating returns. Make yourself comfortable. This will take time." Jasm noticed the security presence, the lack of cell signal, the tension vibrating beneath Harab's controlled exterior. "Brother, is everything all right? You seem different." "I'm perfectly fine. In fact, I'm clearer than I've been in years. You'll understand shortly." Finally, at 7:15 p.m., Carla arrived in the Mercedes convertible Harab had gifted her. AD 340,000 of his money purchasing the vehicle that delivered his betrayer to judgment. She emerged like a vision, designer abaya flowing over expensive Western clothing, jewelry catching the dying sunlight, hair and makeup executed with the precision of someone preparing for an important performance. She dressed for a celebration. Harib had told her his family was finally ready to accept their marriage, that tonight would be the formal announcement of their union to his father and brothers. She practically glowed with anticipated victory. "Habibti!" She rushed to him, and he allowed her kiss on his cheek, noting the practiced warmth, the calculated affection. "I'm so nervous. Do I look all right? Is your father?" "You look perfect," Harib interrupted, taking her hand with a gentleness that felt like mockery even to himself. "Everything is perfect. Come, let's begin." He guided her to the main majlis, and confusion crossed her features as she found the room empty except for 2 security guards at the doors. "Where is everyone? I thought they're here, in separate rooms. Just as you've kept us all separate for 18 months. The first shadow of concern flickered across her face. "Harib, I don't understand. What's going on?" He placed the laptop on the low table between them, opened it to the hidden folder structure, and watched her face cycle through confusion, recognition, calculation, and finally, for just a moment, fear. "October 21st, I came home early. You forgot your laptop. Or perhaps you'd grown so confident you thought yourself untouchable." His voice remained eerily calm, conversational even. "Tell me, Carla? Or should I call you the architect? That's what you named yourself in your operational notes." Her mouth opened, closed. Professional training ward with panic. She attempted recovery, tears springing to her eyes with impressive speed. "Baby, I don't know what you think you found, but someone must have hacked my computer. This is..." Harib pressed play on a video file. Her voice, real accent, hard edges, filled the room. "Target Alpha is completely hooked. Royal family access secured. The cultural guilt makes him so easy to manipulate. Extraction phase approaching right on schedule." The tears dried instantly. Her posture shifted, the vulnerable wife persona dissolving like sugar in water. What remained was colder, harder, more real than anything she'd shown him in 18 months. "How long have you known?" Her voice had changed entirely, calculating, assessing damage, planning response strategies. "Long enough. Would you like to see the rest? Your work is quite comprehensive." He clicked through folders, each revelation landing like a physical blow. "Your affair with my brother. Your seduction of my best friend. And this..." He opened the final folder. "Your encounters with my father." Carla's eyes widened genuinely, not because she felt shame, but because she was recalculating odds. "You know about all of them. Every single one. Every photo. Every message. Every transaction. Every lie." Harib stood, began pacing with controlled energy. "For 18 months you studied me. My weaknesses, my values, my family dynamics. You weaponized my honor, my desire for genuine connection, my romantic idealism. You turned my father, brother, and best friend into instruments of my humiliation. And you documented everything, thinking documentation was power." "It is power," she replied, mask fully dropped now. "You expose me, I expose them. Your father's affair with his son's wife? That destroys your family. Your brother's betrayal? Your best friend's treachery? The scandal would..." "Would what?" Harib's laugh was bitter. "Destroy my family's reputation? That was your plan. Your exit strategy." He pulled up her master_plan document. "Demand AD 50 million or sell the evidence to media. You actually wrote, 'Arab shame culture guarantees payment.' You thought you understood us. You thought honor was weakness." He leaned forward, voice dropping to something dangerous. "But you made one critical error. You documented everything, yes, but you left it accessible. And you forgot that I'm not just a wealthy mark. I'm a military strategist trained in psychological operations. I've negotiated with warlords. I have resources you can't imagine. And now I have every piece of evidence you collected, forensically certified, legally documented, with chain of custody that would hold up in any court." Carla stood abruptly, attempting to leave. Security guards stepped forward, blocking the exits. "Sit down," Harib commanded quietly. You wanted to play with powerful men? Congratulations. You've caught one. Now you'll learn what happens when the prey becomes the predator. He placed a document on the table between them. This is a confession. Comprehensive. It names your organization, your methods, your victims. It includes evidence of fraud, prostitution, extortion, and conspiracy. UE takes these crimes very seriously. You're looking at 25 years minimum, probably in conditions significantly less comfortable than you're accustomed to. You're bluffing, but her voice wavered. Am I? Let me offer you a choice. Sign this confession. Return every dirham extracted from every victim. My family will facilitate the transfers. Accept a permanent ban from all Gulf states. Leave UAE within 48 hours. Never contact anyone from this operation again. Or, he paused for emphasis. I release everything. To the media, to Interpol, to Philippine authorities. Your face becomes synonymous with betrayal. You'll never be able to operate again. Some of your previous victims have connections that make my family look gentle. I found 3 who'd be very interested in your current location. Carla stared at the document, mind racing through options that kept narrowing to a single inevitable conclusion. She'd planned for many contingencies, but not for a Mark who possessed the combination of resources, intelligence, and ruthlessness to turn her own weapons against her. If I sign this, she said slowly, you let me go? Just like that. Just like that. You taught me something valuable, that documentation is power, that evidence is leverage, that emotion is weakness. Thank you for the education. Now sign the fucking paper before I change my mind and opt for the criminal prosecution that would be so much more satisfying. Her hand trembled as she signed. Not from remorse, Harib could see that clearly now, but from rage at being outmaneuvered. Take her to the holding room, Harib instructed security. She doesn't leave this compound until every transfer is verified. Then airport escort. First flight to Manila. Any resistance, implement Plan B. As they led her away, she turned back once. You think you've won? You're just like every man I've ever conned. Eventually, you all show your true colors. You're not honorable, Harib. You're just another. The difference, he interrupted, is that I was honorable. You made me this. Remember that when you're looking over your shoulder for the rest of your life, wondering if today is the day someone recognizes you. Alone in the majlis, Harib stood motionless for 30 seconds, breathing deeply, centering himself. 1 down, 3 to go. The next confrontations would be harder. These were blood, these were history, these were the foundations of his entire life. But they'd all betrayed him, and they would all face consequences. He pressed the intercom. Bring my brother to the West Wing. It's time. Mansour was drunk by the time Harib entered the West Wing sitting room. Expensive whiskey having done little to calm the growing unease that came from forced confinement without explanation. He surged to his feet as his brother appeared, anger masking the first tendrils of fear. This is insane. You can't keep me here like a prisoner. Do you have any idea who I... Sit down, Mansour. Harib's voice carried a command tone from his military days, and his brother's mouth snapped shut reflexively. We need to discuss your relationship with my wife. The blood drained from Mansour's face so quickly Harib thought he might faint. What are you talking about? I don't even know your... The lie died as Harib placed a tablet on the table, photos filling the screen in ruthless succession. Hotel rooms, yachts, Mansour's villa, timestamps, locations, explicit evidence that demolished any possibility of denial. 14 months, Harib stated flatly. You conducted a 14-month affair with Carla, my wife, the woman I married in secret because I loved her. You attended my wedding, Mansour. You stood 50 meters away during the ceremony. And then you fucked her in hotel rooms I recommended to you. Mansour's attempt at justification came out strangled. I didn't know she was married to you. She said her name was. You knew. Harib advanced slowly, controlled rage in every movement. Your text messages make it clear. Harib's at his military consultation. We have the yacht all weekend. That yacht was my wedding gift to her. You were screwing my wife on my wedding gift, brother. Harab, listen. Mansoor shifted tactics desperately. She seduced me. These women, they target men like us for money. I was trying to protect you by proving what she really. The laugh that escaped Harab's throat was utterly without humor. You convinced yourself you were protecting me? While bragging to your friends about your best conquest this year. While transferring AED 500,000 to her account. While looking me in the eye at family dinners. He leaned close, voice dropping to something dangerous. You're not just a betrayer, Mansoor. You're a liar to yourself. Harab placed a second folder on the table, this one making Mansoor's remaining color vanish. While investigating Carla, I found interesting things about you. The Al-Zamani real estate deal father funded with AED 50 million? You skimmed AED 12 million through shell companies. The government housing project? Substandard materials pocketed the difference. 15 separate cases of fraud and embezzlement, all documented here. You wouldn't. Mansoor's voice broke. I'm your brother. Family protects. Family? Harab's control cracked slightly, voice rising. You taught me a new definition of family, brother. So here's your choice. Resign from all family business positions. Return every dirham of embezzled money. Enter rehabilitation for sex addiction. Yes, I know about all the others too. Sign a confession about the affair, framing it as mental health crisis. Or I give this evidence to authorities, to father, to your wife's family. Your children visit you in prison. Your name gets stripped from family records. Fathers wanted to disown you for years. I'll just give him the excuse. Please. Genuine emotion finally cracked through Mansoor's arrogance. My kids. They can't. Harab, please. You have 60 seconds to sign before I call father in here and show him everything. Including what you did with his daughter-in-law. Mansoor signed with shaking hands, his expensive watch catching light as he wrote his name on documents that dismantled his entire life. Harab felt no satisfaction, only cold completion of necessary tasks. You're my brother, Harab said as security prepared to escort Mansoor out. I won't destroy you completely, but you're dead to me. Business associates only when family duty requires. You never mention her name again. And Mansoor, if you ever betray this family again, there won't be choices offered. Understood. Understood. Mansoor's voice was hollow. Drive carefully. You're being monitored now. Every transaction. Every meeting. Every woman. Forever. Jasm sat in the North Garden Pavilion, watching stars emerge over desert dunes, when Harab entered with the weight of 30 years of friendship on his shoulders. This confrontation would hurt differently than the others. This was chosen brotherhood, not blood obligation. Brother! Jasm's relief was visible. Finally! What's going on? The security, the isolation. You stood at my wedding, Harab interrupted quietly, sitting across from his oldest friend. You witnessed my vows. You told me to follow my heart, that Carla was worth the risk. Do you remember? Jasm's expression shifted, genuine fear replacing confusion. Harab, for months after my wedding, you slept with my wife. 47 times. I counted. Your villa, hotels, once in my own guest house while I was overseas. Harab placed the tablet between them, audio files ready. You fell in love with her, didn't you? Silence stretched like broken glass. Jasm's eyes filled with tears. She told me you were abusive, that you controlled her, that she feared you. She said she married you for stability but was trapped. I thought I was saving her. And the AED 800,000? The property deeds in her name? That was all part of saving her. Harab pressed play on an audio file. Carla's voice, clinical and cold. K is the emotional play. His guilt about betraying her makes him pay more. He's in love. Love is the easiest weapon. Men in love don't think, they just give. Another clip. Jasm actually thinks I love him. It's pathetic. But he's useful. He'll help me destroy Harab if needed. Jasm crumpled. Face in hands, shoulders shaking. She played me too. All of it? Lies. Yes, but here's the difference between you and my father or brother. Harab's voice hardened. They're predators who saw beauty and took what they wanted. You knew she was my wife. You looked me in the eye while planning to take her from me. You wrote a letter, saved in your drafts, telling me you were leaving me for her because I didn't deserve her. You rationalized betraying me as actually helping me. That's not love, Jasm. That's narcissism wrapped in false nobility. I'm sorry, Jasm whispered through tears. I'm so sorry. But you know what? She was worth it. Those months with her were the most alive I've felt in. Finish that sentence. Harab stood, voice like ice. I dare you. Jasm's mouth closed, realization of his mistake written across his face. We were brothers for 30 years, Harab continued, each word deliberate. Not by blood, but by choice. You knew my father beat me when I was 10. You held me when my grandmother died. I was best man at your wedding. I helped you build your first company. And you repaid that by fucking my wife while telling me you had my back. Harab, please. No documents to sign. No legal consequences. Just this, we're done. You never existed to me. Your name is erased. If we see each other, you're a stranger. You don't get to explain. You don't get closure. You just get to live with what you did. She manipulated both of us. Jasm surged up desperately. We're both victims. We can rebuild. No. Harab walked to the door without looking back. I'm a victim. You're a co-conspirator. There's a difference. Get out of my property and out of my life. He left Jasm sitting alone in the pavilion. 30 years of brotherhood ending in desert silence. The hardest confrontation waited in the private study. Sheikh Khalil looked up from fake contract documents as Harab entered, paternal concern on his weathered face. Finally, my son. What is this urgent matter requiring such secrecy? There are no contracts, father. Harab sat with formal distance. I brought you here under false pretense. What I need to discuss requires privacy and your full attention. You sound serious. Khalil's concern deepened. What's happened? 18 months ago, I married in secret, a Filipino woman. I knew you'd disapprove, so I kept it hidden. Harab watched his father's face darken predictably. 3 days ago, I discovered she was part of organized crime targeting wealthy Gulf men. She extracted money while conducting affairs with multiple men for blackmail purposes. How much did she take from you? Khalil's anger shifted to concern. AD 3.2 million. But that's not why you're here. Harab's pause was heavy. During my investigation, I discovered she seduced my brother Mansour. That degenerate. He has no. And my best friend Jasm. The betrayals you face. And you, father. The silence that followed was absolute. Time seemed suspended. Jasm's face went white, then gray, aging visibly in seconds. What did you say? Harab played the video. His father's private apartment. Carla, styled differently, but unmistakably her. Intimate encounters. Crystal clear evidence. That woman. Khalil's voice came out strangled. That was your wife. Yes, father. The woman you met at the spa. The one you invested AD 2 million inches. The one you discussed my poor choice of foreign bride with, not knowing she was that bride. Yes. Sheikh Khalil stood, stumbled, sat heavily. For the first time in Harab's memory, his father looked truly old. My son. I didn't know. She said her name was Layla. She seemed so traditional, so respectful. I never. But you did, father. Harab's voice carried decades of disappointment. You slept with a woman young enough to be your daughter. You maintained secret apartments for exactly these purposes. You discussed your son's shameful marriage while having an affair with that very same wife. The hypocrisy is almost poetic. You dare lecture me? Khalil's anger flashed. Yes. Harab stood, voice raised for the first time. You spent my entire life teaching me about honor, about family reputation, about traditional values. You disowned cousin Hamza for marrying Lebanese. And while preaching all this, you maintained a secret life that contradicted everything you claimed to believe. What do you want from me? Khalil deflated completely. I have evidence of your affair. of Mansour's crimes and betrayal. Confessions from everyone involved. I could destroy our family with one USB drive. Mother would be devastated. Amira humiliated. 3 generations of reputation destroyed. You would do that to your own blood? No, father, because unlike everyone else in this family, I actually value the honor you taught me, even if you don't live by it. So here's what happens. This stays secret. Carla is being deported tonight, all money returned. Mansour is resigning, entering treatment. Jasm is out of my life permanently. And you, Harab leaned forward. You close that apartment. Permanently. You end whatever other situations exist. You become the man you pretended to be. And you never, ever lecture me about honor or choices again. Because you lost that right when you slept with my wife. Tears, actual tears, formed in the old sheik's eyes. You're right. Everything you've said. I am a hypocrite. I've been unfaithful for years, justifying it as separate from family life. But seeing it through your pain. My son, I am deeply ashamed. Shame without change is useless, father. What would you have me do? Be honest. With yourself. With mother if you choose. But acknowledge what you are. And when I eventually remarry, if I ever can trust again, you will welcome my choice without conditions. You no longer have the moral authority to judge. Agreed. Khalil nodded, broken. And Harab, despite my failures, know that I am proud of the man you are. You've handled this with more honor than I've shown in decades. You're better than me. Better than all of us. I had to be, father. You left me no choice. At 11:30 p.m., Harab sat alone in the main majlis. All confrontations complete. Carla secured, awaiting morning deportation. Mansour's car departed 30 minutes ago. Jasm's Porsche left shortly after. Father in guest quarters, processing his shattered self-image. Harab removed his Kandura jacket, sitting in loose cotton thobe, first moment of vulnerability all night. He'd won every confrontation, delivered justice, protected family honor. Everything had gone according to plan. So why did victory taste like ash? His phone buzzed. Investigator. All transfers verified. Subject will be at airport 6 a.m. Ban confirmed. International warrants being issued. Another text. Lawyer. Syndicate dissolved. Your leak to Interpol worked. No mention of your involvement. Harab typed. Good. Ensure absolute confidentiality. Forever. He walked to the window, desert stars infinite above, and felt something fundamental shift inside him. The honorable man he'd been was dead, killed by betrayal and reborn through ruthless justice. But this new version of himself, cold, calculating, capable of systematic destruction, scared him more than any of them ever had. Mission success requires sacrifice, he whispered to the darkness. I sacrificed my ability to trust, my relationship with my brother, my friendship, my respect for my father. But who's left to honor? And who's left of me? He didn't know the answer, but he knew one thing with absolute certainty. This wasn't over. The illusion of control shattered exactly 9 days after the desert confrontation, proving that even the most meticulous planning cannot account for the vindictiveness of a cornered predator. November 5, 2019. Harab sat in his office at Al-Zaidi Defense Contracting, reviewing quarterly reports with the mechanical efficiency of a man going through motions rather than living. Sleep had become a stranger, 3 hours maximum each night, interrupted by dreams where Carla's face morphed between the loving wife and the calculating operative, her eyes accusing him even as his hands closed around evidence of her crimes. His phone erupted with notifications simultaneously, messages, calls, news alerts creating a digital avalanche that immediately triggered his military-trained threat assessment. The first headline made his blood freeze. Emirati royal family scandal. Secret marriage? Incest? Betrayal exposed in shocking tell-all. The article had gone live on 3 major international tabloid websites within minutes of each other. Coordinated release, maximum impact. The byline credited Carla Ramos, survivor of abuse by UAE royal family. Harab's hands moved with practiced calm despite the adrenaline spike, opening his laptop and pulling up the full story. Each paragraph was a precision strike designed to inflict maximum damage while positioning her as victim rather than perpetrator. She'd sold everything. Photos of their wedding, intimate moments he'd believed were sacred. Financial documents showing his controlling behavior through bank account access. Text messages carefully edited to remove context, making his protective gestures seem possessive and threatening. And then the nuclear option. Evidence of Mansour's affair, Jasm's betrayal, and most devastating of all Sheikh Khalil's encounters with his son's wife. The article framed it as a horrifying tale of entrapment. Young Filipina nurse, promised legitimate work, instead groomed and coerced into marriage by younger son of prominent family. Forced to endure abuse while her cries for help were ignored. Then sexually assaulted by the husband's brother, best friend, and father, each incident described in clinical detail that made Harab's stomach turn not from lies, but from truth presented through a lens that inverted reality completely. Her crowning achievement came in the final paragraphs. When I finally gathered the courage to escape and report these crimes to authorities, the Al-Zaidi family used their influence to have me deported rather than face justice. I'm telling my story now because other women need to know. Wealth and power do not grant immunity from consequences. These men must be held accountable. Payment disclosure at the bottom. Ms. Ramos received AED 2.4 million from various media outlets for her exclusive story and supporting documentation. Harab's private line rang, his mother's personal number. Her voice, when he answered, was barely recognizable through tears and hyperventilation. Harab, what is this? What have you done? Your father is having chest pains, we've called an ambulance. Amira's children are being pulled from school because of bullying. The calls won't stop. Reporters are at the gates. Tell me this isn't real. Tell me this woman is lying. Tell me my son didn't. Mama, listen to me carefully. Harab's command voice cut through her panic. Most of what she wrote is lies, twisted versions of truth. I was trying to protect the family by handling it quietly. She's taking revenge by protect. Latifa's voice broke into something primal. You brought this woman into our lives. You married her in secret. And whether her version is true or not doesn't matter because everyone believes her. Do you understand? The truth doesn't matter when the lie is this spectacular. She hung up. Within minutes, Harab's business phone began receiving cancellation notices. 3 government contracts under review for moral integrity concerns. 5 private sector partnerships requesting immediate meetings to discuss recent developments. His foundation's board demanding emergency session to address reputational damage. The systematic destruction of everything he'd built was happening in real time. A video call from Mansour came through, his brother calling from a hospital room, face pale, for line visible in his arm. She kept recordings. Mansour's voice was hollow. Audio of me bragging about the affair. My wife's family saw everything. They've filed for immediate divorce and full custody. My children, Harab, my children won't speak to me. My daughter said I'm a bad man who hurt Uncle Harab, and she doesn't want a father like me. The call disconnected. Harab sat in silence, watching his carefully constructed revenge collapse into chaos he hadn't anticipated. He'd removed Carla from their lives, yes, but she'd planted a bomb with a delayed fuse, and it was detonating across every aspect of their existence. His office door burst open without warning. Unprecedented breach of protocol that meant security had been overridden by someone with ultimate authority. Sheikh Khalil stood in the doorway, aged 10 years and 9 days, face gray with more than just stress. Do you know what you've done? His father's voice carried none of its usual authority, only the hollow echo of a man watching his legacy burn. My position in the government council? Suspended pending investigation. Your mother? Hospitalized for stress-induced cardiac episode. The family business accounts? Frozen by 3 different banks citing reputational risk. 40 years of building influence and respect, gone. Because my son couldn't handle his personal problems without dragging the entire family into public humiliation, I tried to handle it quietly. Harab stood, his own control fracturing. I gave her everything she demanded. I deported her. I thought. You thought like a soldier instead of thinking like a son. Khalil's hand slammed onto the desk. You should have come to me immediately. We could have handled this properly, with lawyers, with influence, with planning. Instead, you played vigilante justice, and now we're all paying the price for your arrogance. My arrogance? Harab's voice rose to match his father's. You want to discuss arrogance? Shall we talk about how you sleeping with my wife contributed to this disaster? How your hypocrisy gave her the ultimate leverage? You're not the victim here, father. You're a co-conspirator who got caught in the blast radius. The words hung between them like drawn blades. Khalil's face cycled through rage, shame, and finally resignation. You're right. I contributed to this. We all did. But that doesn't change what happens next. What happens next? The family council meets tonight. Emergency session. Every senior member. They're calling for your complete disassociation from family business interests. Some want full disownment. Khalil's voice dropped to something that almost resembled paternal concern. I'll fight for you, but I don't know if I can win. Not with my own scandal exposed. We've lost too much moral authority. After his father left, Harab discovered a new message on his personal phone. A burner number? Untraceable. But he knew immediately who it was. Carla's voice came through crystal clear. Did you really think you won? Sheik, you took my money. I took your honor. Your family name is destroyed. Your mother is hospitalized. Your father is disgraced. Your brother's children won't speak to him. Your business is collapsing. And me? I just made 82.4 million from the story. More than you extracted from me. I'll disappear to somewhere you'll never find me. Wealthy beyond my dreams. While you'll live with this shame forever. Who won now? Habibti. A pause. Then her voice dropped to something crueler. Oh, and one more thing. I was never pregnant. Just another lie. Everything about me was a lie. Even the parts you thought were real. Especially those parts. Thank you for the education in revenge, Sheik. You taught me well. The message ended with her laughter. Genuine, joyous, victorious. Harab sat in his office as Dubai's lights began glittering through windows. The city he called home suddenly feeling alien and hostile. His phone continued erupting with notifications, each one a hammer blow against everything he'd built. Social media had turned his name into a trending topic. Hashtag Al-Zaidi scandal circulated with thousands of comments, most condemning him as a wealthy predator who'd escaped justice through privilege. Photos of his face photoshopped onto various memes. Doxing attempts publishing his addresses, his vehicle information, his routine. A brick crashed through his office window at 7:47 p.m., wrapped in paper bearing a simple message, "Rapist Protector." Security rushed in, but Harab waved them away, standing amid shattered glass, feeling the metaphor settling into his bones. He'd won every confrontation in the desert, delivered perfect justice, protected family honor, and Carla had still destroyed them all. She'd planned for this from the beginning. The final folder in her laptop had outlined it explicitly. Endgame. If confronted and removed, maximum revenge through media exposure. Arab shame culture will destroy them worse than any legal consequence could destroy me. Take their honor. That's the real power. They can take money. I'll take their legacy. She'd played a game with more moves than he'd anticipated. And while he'd been executing his careful strategy, she'd been planning her nuclear option. At 11:34 p.m., Harab made a decision that would alter the trajectory of his entire life. He opened his secure communications app and sent a message to his ex-military contact, the one who'd helped locate Carla in Kuala Lumpur, the one who specialized in operations that officially never happened. Previous discussion about extreme contingency. I'm activating it. Location: Kuala Lumpur. Target: Carla Ramos. Timeline: immediate. Compensation: AED 5 million upon confirmation. Requirements: permanent solution. No traceability to source. Confirm receipt. The response came within minutes. Received. Timeline: 72 hours maximum. Methods: will appear accidental or criminal opportunism. Your involvement, 0 footprint. Advance payment, AED 1 million to usual account for operational expenses. Confirmation will come through secure channel. This conversation never happened. Harab transferred the money using cryptocurrency channels established during his military intelligence days. Untraceable, irreversible. The point of no return crossed with keystrokes that would make him something he'd never been before. Not a soldier following orders, not an officer protecting his country, but a man commissioning murder for personal revenge. He sat in darkness, shattered glass crunching beneath his shoes, and felt the last remnants of the Honorable Sheikh Harab al-Zaidi die with strange relief. Honor hadn't protected him. Justice hadn't saved his family. Legal methods had backfired spectacularly. Only one language remained that Carla would understand. The permanent kind. His phone buzzed with a message from his mother's hospital. Condition stable. Requesting family presence for support. Another message from Amira. My husband's family is pressuring him to divorce me. The scandal is too much. Please, Harab, do something. Fix this. A third from his business partner. The board voted. You're being removed as CEO effective immediately. I'm sorry. I fought for you, but the liability is too great. Everything was collapsing. Everyone was suffering. And Carla was somewhere laughing about it, counting her money, planning her next victim. Not anymore. At 2:17 a.m., Harab received the operational plan. Target located at residences at Petronas, Kuala Lumpur, Suite 4507. Registered under alias Maria Reyes. Pattern. Returns to hotel 11 p.m. nightly. Security minimal. Opportunity optimal. Method. Robbery gone wrong common in the area. Timeline. Execution within 48 hours. Confirm authorization. Harab stared at the message for a full minute. This was it. The final decision. The irreversible choice. He thought about his mother in the hospital. His sister facing divorce. His brother's children calling him evil. His father's destroyed reputation. His own shattered life. He thought about Carla's laughter on that voice message. Her victory. Her escape with more money than he'd taken from her. He thought about honor and justice and doing the right thing. And then he thought about how none of those concepts had protected anyone he loved from the consequences of her calculated destruction. He typed one word, confirmed. Then he deleted the entire message thread, factory reset his phone, and threw the device in his office safe. Tomorrow he would visit his mother, comfort his sister, begin the impossible work of rebuilding his reputation. But tonight, he'd sent death across international borders with the clinical efficiency of a man who'd finally accepted what he'd become. The honorable man who'd fallen in love with a lie was dead. In his place stood something darker, colder, capable of unthinkable things. And that transformation, more than any external consequence, was the real victory Carla had achieved. She'd wanted to destroy him. She'd succeeded, just not in the way she expected. November 21, 2019. The Malaysia Airlines flight touched down at Kuala Lumpur International Airport at 2:47 p.m., carrying a passenger traveling under diplomatic credentials that weren't technically fraudulent, just borrowed from connections who owed him favors that could never be officially acknowledged. Harab moved through customs with the practiced ease of someone who'd crossed borders on classified missions. His face altered slightly by subtle prosthetics that wouldn't register as disguises but would confuse facial recognition software. The passport read, Jazm Al-Hamadi, business consultant, an identity that would dissolve into bureaucratic confusion if anyone tried to verify it later. His contact met him outside arrivals, ex-special forces, Malaysian national, specializing in operations requiring plausible deniability. They'd worked together on a counterterrorism task force 5 years ago. What they were about to do had nothing to do with national security, but the man's code was simple. Loyalty to brothers in arms transcended conventional morality. Target's patterns confirmed. The contact said in English as they drove through Kuala Lumpur's chaotic traffic. Returns to hotel between 10:45 and 11:15 p.m. every night. Suite 4507. Usually alone. She burned bridges with her organization. Security is standard hotel level. Not prepared for professional operation. Surveillance showed she's spending money freely. New designer items daily. Champagne service every evening. Living like she's untouchable. The man glanced at Harab. You're sure about this? Once we proceed, there's no reversal. I'm sure. Harab's voice carried the flat certainty of a man who'd already crossed every moral boundary internally and was simply completing external actions. They spent the next 6 hours in surveillance. Harab watched Carla through high-powered optics as she shopped on Jalan Bukit Bintang, laughing with temporary friends who had no idea who she really was, carrying shopping bags worth more than most Malaysians earned in months. She looked radiant. No guilt, no fear, no conscience troubling her enjoyment of money extracted through systematic destruction of his family. At 10:52 p.m., her Mercedes pulled into the residence's parking structure. She emerged in designer casual wear, shopping bags in hand, phone pressed to her ear. Harab could see her smiling, laughing at something someone said. His contact handed him the equipment. Untraceable knife purchased from black market 3 days ago. Gloves. Disposable coveralls. Cleaning supplies. Lock-hacking device for electronic hotel locks. Maintenance uniform for building access. I've looped the security feed for the 45th floor. 12-minute window starting at 11:20 p.m. That's your insertion point. Service elevator, no cameras. Exit same way. I'll be monitoring police channels. Any complications, you abort and we extract. Understood. Harab nodded, checking his equipment with military precision. His heart rate was steady, 62 beats per minute. The same calm he'd felt before combat operations, the same detachment that had allowed him to make impossible decisions under fire. At 11:17 p.m., dressed as hotel maintenance, Harab entered through the service entrance his contact had compromised hours earlier. The building was upscale but not ultra-luxury, the kind of place where wealthy people stayed when they wanted comfort without excessive attention. The service elevator rose smoothly to the 45th floor. Harab checked his watch. 11:19 p.m. His window would open in 60 seconds. Suite 4507 was at the end of a quiet corridor, isolated from neighboring rooms by the building's luxury spacing. The electronic lock surrendered to the hacking device in 17 seconds, faster than Harab had drilled, almost disappointing in its ease. He slipped inside, closing the door with a soft click that wouldn't register to anyone who might be listening. The suite was expensively decorated in modern minimalist style, floor-to-ceiling windows offering a spectacular view of the Petronas Towers lit against the night sky. And there, at a glass table facing those towers, sat Carla Ramos counting stacks of cash with the focused attention of someone performing a ritual of victory. She changed into a silk robe, champagne glass beside her, laptop open to what appeared to be real estate listings in countries without extradition treaties. Planning her next move, her next life, her next escape. Harab stood absolutely still, watching her for 30 seconds, memorizing this moment, the last time she would ever feel safe. Hello, Carla. She spun so fast her champagne glass shattered against marble flooring, the sound explosive in the sweet silence. Her eyes went wide. First confusion, then recognition, then a flash of fear before her training kicked in and her expression hardened into calculation. Harab. She stood slowly, backing toward the bedroom. How did you? It doesn't matter. You can't touch me. I have lawyers. I have protection. I have copies of everything in multiple locations. You hurt me, it all gets released. Your family gets destroyed worse than. Your syndicate partners were arrested 18 days ago. Harab interrupted, voice calm and conversational as he moved toward her with measured steps. Your insurance files? Seized by Interpol. Your contact in Manila who was supposed to release everything if something happened to you? He took a deal and gave up the passwords. I know this because I made sure of it before I came here. He watched her mentally cycling through options, seeing each escape route close in real time. The lawyers you think are protecting you? They were paid for 20 days of work. That money ran out yesterday. They've already withdrawn from your case. Check your email. Harab gestured to her laptop. The protection you think you have? It was an illusion built on money and connections that don't care about you. And me being here? I'm a ghost. This conversation is happening in a diplomatic blind spot. There's no record of me entering Malaysia. There will be no record of me leaving. Carla's back hit the window, nowhere left to retreat. You won't kill me. You're not a killer. You're too honorable. I was honorable, Harab corrected, pulling the knife from his coveralls with steady hands. But you killed that man. You documented it so thoroughly in your notes, remember? R is too controlled by honor to ever truly hurt me. Past tense. That man died when you destroyed my family for profit. I'll scream, but her voice wavered. Hotel security. Scream. You'll be dead before they arrive and I'll be gone. Or don't scream and we can talk. Your choice. 5 seconds. She didn't scream. Survival instinct overrode pride. What do you want? Her voice had lost all its confidence, revealing something younger and more desperate underneath. Money? I'll give it all back. Every dirham. It's right here. She gestured to the stacks on the table. AD 2.4 million. Take it. Just let me go. Please. I don't want money. Harab's voice was eerily calm. I want you to understand something that you've never understood in your entire predatory life. Actions have consequences. Real ones. Permanent ones. Please. Tears now, maybe genuine, maybe performed, Harab no longer cared which. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'll disappear. You'll never hear from me again. You're right about that. I'll never hear from you again. He moved with the trained efficiency of military hand-to-hand combat. She tried to run, he was faster. She tried to fight, he was stronger. She opened her mouth to scream. His gloved hand covered it instantly. The knife work was clinical, precise. Throat first to silence her, then 3 strikes to major organs to ensure the outcome. Military training had taught him exactly where to cut for quick death with minimal suffering, though suffering wasn't his concern. Efficiency was. Carla Ramos died in approximately 90 seconds. Her eyes wide with shock that this was actually happening, that the wealthy mark she'd manipulated had transformed into her executioner. Harab lowered her body carefully to avoid excessive blood splatter, then spent the next 7 minutes methodically staging the scene. Window forced open slightly. Cash scattered but not all taken, interrupted robbery. Her laptop destroyed and partially disassembled, criminal looking for valuable components. Her designer bags ransacked. The scenario was utterly plausible. Wealthy woman flashing cash in upscale hotel becomes victim of opportunistic crime. It happened regularly enough in Kuala Lumpur's luxury districts that police would follow standard protocols without excessive investigation. Harab used the cleaning supplies to methodically wipe every surface he might have touched, remove any trace evidence, ensure nothing connected him to this scene. The coveralls went into a bag for incineration later. The knife would be dissolved in acid and scattered across 3 different rivers. At 11:51 p.m., 34 minutes after entry, Harab exited through the service elevator, past compromised security feeds, out into Kuala Lumpur's humid night. His contact drove him directly to a private airfield where a charter plane waited with filed flight plans listing Jasm Al-Hamadi as passenger en route to Singapore for business meetings. The diplomatic credentials ensured minimal questions. By 3:30 a.m., Harab was in Singapore. By 7 a.m., different credentials, different flight, he was landing in Abu Dhabi. By 9:15 a.m., he was sitting in his office in Dubai as if he'd never left, security footage and digital footprints carefully constructed to show him working late at various locations throughout the previous night. His alibi was perfect. His involvement was ghost-level invisible. At 11:47 a.m., his contact sent a simple text, "Package delivered. Cleanup complete. Our business is concluded." Harab deleted the message, factory reset another burner phone, and resumed normal operations. The next morning, international news reported a tragic crime. Filipino woman found murdered in Kuala Lumpur hotel. Suspected robbery gone wrong. Malaysian police investigated thoroughly but found frustratingly little evidence. The victim was eventually identified as Carla Ramos, wanted by Interpol for fraud and connected to organized crime syndicates. Investigation noted she had numerous enemies across multiple countries and substantial cash in rooms suggesting criminal enterprise. The case generated initial media attention but faded quickly. Another foreign national involved in criminal activity meeting a violent end in a city where such things happened with unfortunate regularity. Police listed dozens of potential suspects, from syndicate members she'd betrayed to victims of her previous cons to random criminals who'd targeted her wealth. Investigation stalled within weeks. Case went cold within 3 months. Officially unsolved. Unofficially, no one with real power cared enough to dig deeper. 6 months later, May 2020, Harib sat in his rebuilt office, new company, new reputation carefully reconstructed through expensive PR, strategic charity work, and leveraging connections that had weathered the scandal. Mansour remained institutionalized, his mental breakdown following Carla's death so complete that doctors suggested permanent residential care. He kept repeating, "It's my fault. She's dead because of us." Jasm was found dead in his villa in June 2020, suicide by overdose. His note, "I destroyed my brother. Now there's nothing left." Harib didn't attend the funeral. Sheikh Khalil lived in quiet retirement, rarely speaking, aging rapidly. His relationship with Harib existed only in forced public appearances. Sheikha Latifa knew. Mothers always know. She never asked directly, never confronted him. But her eyes held a knowledge that made Harib's skin crawl during family gatherings. She'd chosen to protect her son through silence, taking the truth to wherever she would eventually rest. Harib's therapist, mandatory for executives who'd experienced traumatic betrayal, asked during one session, "Do you feel guilt about her death?" "Which part?" Harib replied, "That she died? Or that I don't regret it?" "Either. Both. She destroyed everything I loved. She profited from my family's pain. She planned to keep destroying others. The legal system couldn't touch her. She operated between jurisdictions, exploited diplomatic complications, had resources to fight any prosecution. She was a predator. I eliminated a predator." That's rationalization. Maybe, but it's also true. How do you live with it? The same way soldiers live with combat kills. I had a mission. Enemy combatant. Target eliminated. Mission complete. You've completely compartmentalized. I've survived. At night, sometimes Harib dreamed of her eyes, the moment when she realized he was actually going to kill her, when her calculation transformed to genuine fear. He'd wake with his heart racing, but not from guilt. From the terrifying realization that he felt nothing about taking a human life except cold satisfaction. The man who'd married for love was dead. The man who'd sought honor was dead. In their place existed something functional, successful, alive in technical terms but not really living. Just continuing, operating, surviving. And perhaps that was Carla's real victory. She'd wanted to destroy him, and she'd succeeded, just not through scandal or exposure. She'd destroyed him by proving that underneath civilization, underneath honor, underneath every value he'd claimed to hold, he was capable of murder when pushed far enough. And that knowledge, that self-awareness of what he'd become, was a life sentence more permanent than any prison. On November 21st, 2021, exactly 2 years after he'd killed her, Harib stood on his penthouse balcony, watching Dubai's lights glitter in the darkness. "Some wounds never heal," he whispered to the city. "Some revenge is forever, and some victories cost more than defeat ever could." He raised a glass of whiskey to the night sky. "To you, Carla. You taught me what I was capable of. I hope, wherever souls go, you finally understand. You didn't just con a rich man. You awakened something that couldn't be put back to sleep. And that monster, it wears my face, lives my life, and remembers you every single day." He drank deeply. The city glittered, indifferent to tragedy, to justice, to the price of revenge. And Sheikh Harib al-Zaidi turned back to his empty penthouse, a successful man in every measurable way, hollow in every way that mattered. The perfect revenge had cost him his humanity. And in the mathematics of destruction, both sides had lost everything.